Hi, friend, and welcome to Raising Daniels, breaking chains, building courage, leaving legacy. I am your host, Cherie Linford, Faith Legacy Coach, and this is the go-to podcast for Christian parents who are ready to confront their past, rise in spiritual authority, and raise bold children who will stand strong in a world falling away from truth. Here we talk about breaking generational strongholds, overcoming anxiety and fear, and equipping you to disciple your sons and daughters to walk courageously in these final days before Jesus returns. Before we begin, please remember that this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical, psychological, or counseling advice. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And so you can be a part of our community polls where I hear from you directly. And if this episode encourages you, don't forget to comment and share it with another parent who needs this message. All right, let's get to today's episode. Have you ever noticed that even on a calm day, your body doesn't feel calm? Nothing major is wrong. The house is quiet. The children are okay. But inside, you're still tense, still thinking, still scanning, still bracing for the next thing. And if you're really honest, peace almost feels uncomfortable, like you don't quite know what to do with it. So you reach for something, your phone, a task, a thought, a problem to solve. And just like that, you're back in motion, back in pressure, back in stress. And I want to gently ask you something today. Not to shame you, not to label you, but to help you see what might be happening underneath the surface. What if you're not just stressed? What if your system has learned stress so well that now it feels normal? What if your body has been trained through life, through pressure, through survival to stay in a constant state of go? This is where we need to understand something powerful. God did not design you to live in constant urgency. He did not create you to be in survival mode all day. He created your body with rhythm, with flow, with built-in cycles of work and rest. But when those rhythms get disrupted, we begin to live out of alignment. There's something called your nervous system. And without getting complicated, here's what you need to know. There are different states your body moves through during the day. One of them is called beta. This is your doing state, your thinking state, your problem-solving state. This is where you manage your home, respond to messages, discipline your children, handle responsibilities. Beta is not bad. We need it. But beta was never meant to be your home. There's another state called alpha. And this is where calm lives. This is where your body softens. This is where your mind slows down. This is where you become present instead of reactive. And here's something important for you as a parent raising children in today's world. Alpha is where wisdom flows. Alpha is where you respond with intention instead of reacting out of stress. Alpha is where your children experience your peace, not just your presence. But if you've been living in beta for too long, alpha can feel strange, even uncomfortable, even unsafe because your body has gotten so used to being on. And this is where the chain begins. This is one of the hidden chains many parents are carrying. Not addiction to substances, but a dependence on stress to feel in control, to feel productive, to feel like you're doing enough. But here's the truth: living in constant stress does not build courage in your children, it builds anxiety. Because children don't just listen to what we say, they absorb what we carry. Before we continue, I just want to quickly let you know, if you're enjoying this episode and want to go deeper, make sure you check out the description below. I regularly share free resources designed to help you regulate your home, strengthen your faith, and support your children through anxiety and emotional challenges. And if you're ready for deeper transformation, I also offer coaching programs and course options to walk alongside you step by step as you break cycles and build a legacy of peace and courage in your home. Everything you need is linked in the episode description below. So go take a look after this episode. Alright, let's get back to the episode. So if we're constantly tense, constantly rushing, constantly reacting, they learn that the world is not safe. They learn that pressure is normal. They learn that peace is unfamiliar. And I know that's not your heart. You want to raise Daniels, children who stand firm, children who are not shaken by the world, children who know how to be anchored in God even when everything around them is loud and chaotic. But that legacy doesn't start with what you teach them. It starts with what you model. And this is where we break the chain. You were never meant to stay in beta all day. Your body is supposed to move like this. You go into beta, you do what you need to do, and then you come back down into alpha. Like shifting gears in a car. You don't drive in one gear the entire journey. If you do, the engine burns out. And that is exactly what happens to so many parents. You're in the go mode from the moment you wake up until the moment you collapse into bed. And even then, your mind is still running. And then you wake up exhausted. Not because you didn't sleep, but because your system never actually rested. Scripture speaks so clearly into this, even though it doesn't use the words nervous system. Listen to this. Be still and know that I am God. This is in Psalms 46, verse 10. Be still, not rush, not strive, not fix everything. Be still. Stillness is not a weakness. Stillness is trust. Stillness is where your body and your spirit come back into alignment. But let's be honest. Stillness doesn't come naturally when you've been living in survival mode. You don't just suddenly switch it on. You retrain your system gently. So how do we begin? Not with long routines, not with adding more pressure, but with something simple, something doable, something that meets you in your real life. Because we're not just sitting in silence for an hour every day. You're raising children. You're managing a home. You're carrying responsibility. So we use micro moments, small intentional shifts that begin to retrain your body. Here is your one actionable step. Simple, but powerful. And this is where courage is built in. Not in big moments, but in constant, small obedience. 3 times a day, you pause for 2 minutes. That's it. 2 minutes. And during those 2 minutes, you look up. Not at your phone, not at a screen, but physically lift your eyes out a window, at the sky, at a wall, if that's all you have. And you let your body soften. You don't try and fix your thoughts. You don't try and pray perfectly. You don't try to be productive. You simply allow yourself to be still. At first, this might feel uncomfortable. You might feel restless. You might feel like you should be doing something. That's okay. That doesn't mean it's not working. It means your system is used to stress. Stay anyway. 2 minutes, 3 times a day. What you're doing in that moment is powerful. You're telling your body, I'm safe. I don't need to stay in survival mode. I can come down. And over time, this begins to shift you out of constant beta and back into alpha, back into calm, back into presence. And here's where legacy is built. Not in perfection, not in having everything together, but in these quiet decisions to come back into peace. Because when you shift, your home shifts. When your body softens, your children feel it. When you respond instead of react, they learn how to regulate themselves. This is how we break chains. Not by trying harder, but by living differently. So today, don't overwhelm yourself. Don't try to change everything. Just start here. 2 minutes, 3 times a day. Look up, be still. And remember this. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are learning to live in the rhythm God designed for you. And in that rhythm is where peace lives. That rhythm is where courage is built. And that rhythm is what your children will carry into their future. As we come to the end of today's episode, I just want to remind you, you don't have to pass down the pain you inherited. With God, you can break the chains. You can walk in freedom. And you can raise children who are strong, grounded, and courageous in their faith. If this episode spoke to you, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with another parent who needs encouragement today. That's how we grow this movement and reach more families. And don't forget to check the episode description for any free resources or ways to work with me if you're ready to go deeper. Thank you for being here and for choosing to raise Daniels in a world that desperately needs them. I'll see you in the next episode.